Our Meetup group started last May, so we've been, we're about 3/4 of a year old. And the goal at the outset was just to prepare for when the Apple Watch came out, and so we've been learning Swift and design tools like Facebook's Origami and Sketch, which you're going to see a little bit of tonight. So WatchKit actually did eventually come out, and it came out right around Thanksgiving. And that same week, the weekend, we had a hackathon, and 33 teams presented. It was a lot of fun, a lot of cool ideas. You can actually see the video of all the teams presenting, and we have like a kind of a 10-minute recap video that you can watch to see what happened there. What's going to happen in the future is in February sometime, probably, iOS 8.2 will come out. That's the release that actually has communication for the watch built into it. And there's betas out there now that Apple just released this week that show that there will be a companion app on the iPhone, and you'll be able to control like the position of your home screen icon and settings for the watch. And then in March, the watch will probably be released. So right near April, we'll have another hackathon. Right now the plan is for April 11th for that. So I'm looking forward to all of that. Tonight, I'd love for you to tweet your ideas. Part of the reason why we're doing all of this is to get together, to work together, to find what the good ideas are and share them with each other. And also the tidbits that you learned tonight. These guys are going to present a lot of cool stuff, both from Xcode and from Sketch. And you can use our new hashtag, AWM for Apple Watch Meetup. Next week, we have a couple of cool events. We've got Hello WatchKit events on Wednesday and Thursday. And then on the weekend, we have a WatchKit Bootcamp. So the Hello WatchKit events are kind of an introductory. So we'll see how to make a map and how to make a table and a list and also pages. And then at the boot camp on the weekend, we'll go much more in depth and show glances, notifications, communicating with an API, and how to do animations. And the goal for all of that is to really get you to where you know enough that you could actually be ready in time to launch an app when the watch comes out. I mean, that's been my goal ever since the beginning of founding the group. After we get done, we'll post all the video, slides, and code to happy.watch as we have every time, and you can go back in time and see all our previous events there. And with that, I'll turn it over to these guys.
So, back to you, Ben.
Yeah, so this is what we came up with at the hackathon. This is a sort of a mock-up hero shot. You can see some screens here. Basically, the idea is maybe you see just your most frequent orders, or you pick a size, you customize it a bit, and using Apple Pay, and Starbucks has their own card, right? Like, so I figured that they probably wouldn't want to just always offer Apple Pay if they have their own card. Well, let's say you chose Apple Pay, and then you kind of that's the basic flow. Just to give you a better idea of what that looked like, here's kind of in animated form. Kind of post hackathon, we kind of animated in After Effects. And that's it. Really, just go through the drinks and pick the size and pay for it. And what Ben wanted us to do today is to kind of walk you through how you would go about creating a simple Apple Watch app from straight from design to a little bit of code. So we'll get right into it. One of the best things to do is not start from scratch, especially when you're time limited. This gentleman, Rick Burton, created an Apple Watch GUI sketch file, which is actually based off our Apple Watch GUI Photoshop file that we created at Impeccable. He had contacted us and asked us if it was okay for him to kind of turn the PSDs into Sketch. I'm like, go for it. So with that in mind, I have the sketch file open here. Yep. Too long. Oh, it's over there. And where's the mirror?
Where's the one? This. There it is.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Font for ants.
Yes. Here, how do you change it? Build. Ooh, better. Make sure this is still good. Okay.
Cool. So if you open up, you can just search for Apple Watch GUI Sketch, and this is a complete template of all the screens that Apple has released. If you go to the apple.com/watch, basically Rick and the impeccable team painstakingly recreated what they saw in sketch format, so you can just immediately use these. Now going back to our concept, if you look at these screens over here, these are the Starbucks screens over here. What I've done is I've taken what template I thought closely matched the screens we designed the most, and then copied them over. And this is how you would create some new designs based on this. So if I'm just going to take this screen here, I'm going to duplicate it. Oops, wrong one.
So talk through what buttons you're pressing.
Oh, yeah, so I'm just going to right-click this screen. I hit duplicate. So I got a new one here. And all I'm doing here is start modifying, right? So I'm going to do Frappuccinos. And I'm going to align this a bit. 1/5. I'm going to right justify this. This is not quite the color, the Starbucks approved color. So we're going to change the color here. If you're not, if you're still using Photoshop and you're doing UI design, I would seriously you should consider using Sketch. It's a lot faster for UI design. So here, if you take the if you go to the Starbucks website and pick out some of their colors, that's kind of basically what we did. And you just select the element, pick the color you want to use. Boom, like that. I'm going to add some finesse here and make the this one not as bright.
Feel free to ask questions.
Yeah, this is interactive, so don't feel like you can't ask questions if you're getting lost. So this page dots here. Yeah, we're diving right into it because it's there's a lot to cover, and then there's still like the code aspect to cover. So I'm just customizing some colors based on the template. So I picked this template. I don't need this guy, but I kind of have the sense, okay, I look at the width and the height. Okay, I kind of wanted that size. All right, delete that bad boy. And say I wanted to have a folder here of images. So straight from, already resized, but straight from the Starbucks website. Let's drop it right here.
Becca's done a little bit of preparation of some of the images already. With the stuff, like the Frappuccino stuff, did you capture those, scale them correctly?
Well, I just went to the Starbucks website and saved them. The text here, I'm just going to grab this text from here.
Is there how did you do the circle crop? Can you do that in Sketch?
Oh, yeah, you can actually do that in Sketch, too. Let me do that for you. That's a great question. Let's get a normal photo. Actually, let's get this photo. I think this is not a circle. So say I grab this photo here from Starbucks. You actually grab this photo. And what you're trying to do, oops, did it twice. Try to. All I do is I draw a, create a new element, create a rectangle. Let's see, insert, shape, rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle. And so now you have a rectangle. What I'm going to do is group them together. And then from there, I'm going to use a feature called layer masks. But before I do that, what I need to do is put the mask at the bottom. I select layer, use as layer mask. I'm sorry, why did I do the rectangle? I really want a circle. So, here we go. Yeah, 188, that's fine. Again, make it the right layer. And then I'll make this the layer mask, use as mask. Boom. So that's pretty much that. And then you can, Sketch has pretty good auto lineup alignment tools, so that's pretty nice. Yeah, that's basically the first screen here. For the customization screen, this screen here, it's basically a list view. So there's a list view screen right here in the template that I copied over. So I'm just going to make a duplicate of that and drag it over. And call this customize. Change the color. And it remembers the last few colors you used, so that's really great. Since I created this just now, I'm just going to steal it. And it kind of remembers where you put it in the last screen, so that's pretty convenient. Now I don't need these states, so I'm going to delete the second line. Oh. I'm going to center this a bit. Oh, there we go. Make it. And I'm going to use the, for this thing here, I'm going to get rid of this airplane. I'm going to use a Starbucks approved color. And if you just go to the Starbucks website and get the color value, you'll see it. Here I'm just going to steal it from my old value. And then if you look in the template from before, I need a check mark somewhere. Ah, there's one right here. So yeah, when I'm designing, I'm super lazy. I just try to find whatever's already out there and kind of assemble it, especially if you're trying to do something quick at a hackathon. So here I am, just pasting that over. And just gonna get some precision around here. Using the X and Y coordinates. Obviously you can see it's a little too big, so I'm going to constrain the proportions, make it a little smaller. Yeah, I'm using the arrow key. I find that I get more precise that way. Or if you can just try entering the values. You can, with Sketch, you can easily hide layers. So like, I don't like this. I don't need that. I don't need that. That's the second screen right there. For the payment screen here, basically what I needed was some text and these two buttons. Well, if you look at the template, there's this map screen with two buttons. So I'm going to copy that over, create a new screen. And again, I have, if you're feeling lazy and you already created this, so you can just select this element, copy them over, delete that, and paste them right here. You got your total. And we are now in screen 5, so I'm going to update that, 505. I'm going to call this Apple Pay. And change it to centered, okay. Call this card. Card. Make it black. And make the button gold. No questions? Kind of blazing through this. Don't need this element, so I'll delete that. I'll delete this. Delete that. Delete that. And then I found another WatchKit screen that had a lot of text that had the proportions. These to me is like shortcuts, so you don't have to think about font sizes, stuff like that. You know. So I need. Okay, what do I need? I'm very interested in, this big text here. I'm interested in this guy here. I'm going to copy it over. Whoa. So this template was originally designed, at the time they did not release the San Francisco font yet, so we did not design it using that. And also, it's only available on Mac, so like for people who are not using this on a Mac, it's the PSD we made available, that wouldn't have been helpful to them. 7.3.12. Oh. Yeah, this height on this thing was a little off. 73.12. Why is it? Yeah. 73 point. 73. Done. On the font, well, actually, we didn't use it because we're trying to match Starbucks. So the Starbucks font is actually Lotto. Or Helvetica, depending on what they're using, what they're trying to show. So we actually tried to match the style of, not so much the Apple guidelines for the font, just because we wanted to kind of keep it within the Starbucks design guidelines, right? As you can see here, I'm reusing a lot of stuff. In fact, I'm reusing, pretty much everything.
On the left, like, did you do that the first time, or did you like have to think through it a little bit?
The stuff on the left?
Well, no, I mean the one that you're like kind of.
Oh yeah. So you have to think through the design, right? Like as a designer, you had to come up with the design that you wanted to. But once you have this design, how do I go about making it really quick? When you start designing, you sketch it out on pen and paper and stuff like that. But once you're ready, if you have stuff like this, these tools like this WatchKit stuff, they'll really save you a lot of time because what you're trying to do is match what you're trying to envision with whatever is already out there that closely matches that, and like what can I tweak with the least amount. I practice design judo. I'm a lazy guy, so I'm like looking at, okay, what's the closest thing to what I'm trying to do? Okay, this screen looks close enough. Let me start playing with the colors and tweaking it and start moving things about, and then I kind of massage it into whatever it is I'm trying to do. That's basically my whole philosophy on design in a nutshell. So here I start to have some semblance of the total screen here. And that's right justified. This is a little, the text is less important than the value, so I'm just going to lighten it up a bit. I don't know, whatever. And then, and now I have that. I'm just going to paste it, duplicate that. Tax, whatever, percent. And then, and then whatever that works out to. A lot of bucks. And there you have it. And then this, I didn't even need to do anything, right? Like for the payment screen, we want to not reinvent the wheel and introduce new design patterns, because with payments, you want to be able to trust. Like if it looks janky, you make it yourself. That you kind of lose trust. Plus, you're probably just using Apple's Pays system or Passbook or whatever, so you can just use this. That was like the final payment screen, so I didn't have to even do anything there. But there you have it. One note is, you want to start exporting assets, and Sketch makes it really easy to export assets. Let me tell you how easy. Let me show you how easy. So like I need to export this. Like for this screen, really everything else is text. What I really need is just to export this as an asset. So I'll make this object exportable. And if you look here at the bottom, there's a Make Exportable button. I'm going to make it exportable. And if you're used to doing iOS development as a designer, you're probably used to exporting assets in 1x, 2x, and with iPhone 6, 6 Plus, 3x, real pain in the butt. Well, Sketch makes it really easy. So like, if I label it, okay, like let me label this. It'll export it based on the label name, the name that it gives you. So I'm going to call this Icon Frappuccino, just to make it so that it's somewhat user-friendly, right? Not just bitmap, whatever. So this layer now is, when you export it, is going to be called Icon Frappuccino, blah, blah, blah. But, so 1x is going to take the name, and there's no suffix, and then I need a 2x, so it's going to add a 2x automatically, and I need, if I'm also building this for iPhone 6, I can do this. But since it's going to be only Apple Watch, these icons are really going to only go on the Apple Watch. I probably don't need a 3x. And probably not a 1x either. Exactly. Just the Retina. And then you hit the export button and you pick where to save it. So what you can do is kind of go through the whole thing here and say here, like this image here, I called it size, and then I had different sizes, tall, grande, venti, whatever. So I had user-friendly names called size something. What else would you need to export? Maybe this check icon. So you can, I would rename this to icon check. Everything else is text, so you want to, let's see. One thing you want to make sure is if you're adding stuff you want to export, you should make sure you group them together. So like this logo here, the Starbucks logo should go with this card. So I've grouped them together now. I can see that by turning them on and off. So I'm going to call this button, maybe button pay Starbucks. Make that exportable. This button here, I'll call it button pay Apple. And then make that exportable. And then once you do that, you just have, you end up with a whole folder full of assets that have been exported that look like this.
They will have that 2x extension at the end of the
Yeah. And this kind of lets me turn it over to Dylan, who's going to take these assets and put them into a WatchKit app. Do you want to take it over?
Keep that really quick.
What?
So,
Yeah.
Really quick.
Sure.
That feature you have. So is it constantly updating that when you make changes, or do
You have to manually export it. Yeah. You have to manually export it. That would be cool, though.
There are some too things out of it. Thank you, Pat. It's always great to see a professional on the design side. Many of you already know about Watch, about the components and features that are available to it. Apple has a limited set of what we would call widgets that can be actually applied. So it was interesting enough, actually, at the hackathon, a lot of people, because none of us knew what was going to come out in the WatchKit SDK. A lot of people there was a bit of conjecture about the capabilities of the watch itself, and Apple still has a pretty it's fairly secretive about the true roadmap of where the device is going to go. But right now, essentially, how the watch works is it is effectively a flattened view. There's no dynamic pieces to it, other than if you were to animate a sprite. You know, how many of you guys know what a sprite is? Sprite animation. So you would take a sprite. Essentially, it would be an image, and you can say, okay, I want 16 cells to it, and essentially you're just incrementally changing that sprite over time. And essentially, you would link a timer to it, and then you can make things that look like animations, but we don't have you don't have swipe or touch and expand. You don't have any of the standard animation components that normally come from your iPhone applications. So these things are fairly static. You can send data to it in the notifications in a notifications view, and then there's other ways of making the data available through entitlements. And you have to set up these entitlements so that way the communication between the WatchKit SDK and the WatchKit project itself, and then also your standard application. So I'm not going to cover all of that stuff because that could take a couple hours to really go through. What I wanted to do is I wanted to take text assets and very quickly, in this instance, we wanted to actually just build a very, very static prototype today. We're going to take those assets. I'm going to show you how we're going to import those assets. I'm going to lay them out in as close to the design that Tech gave me. So in the real world, if you were to work on a large organization, what we would be doing is we'd be getting something like, if maybe you can see this here, this is what they call a wireframe. Okay, so the designers, UX designers, give this to me, right? And they also give me image assets that be in relation to this. Sometimes there would be little black dots, and they'd have an arrow that would identify the swipe. This is particularly for a mobile application. In this case, there's a limited number of functions that are available to us actually on the watch. And like I said before, we had a lot of people that had conjecture about what was actually capable on the watch, but now that we do know what is capable, this application that Peck had envisioned is very in line with actual device capabilities. There's a couple of hoops that I had to jump through in order to actually emulate that, and I'm going to show you. As you notice, Peck's app shows where you can tap on it, and it will give you a number of different cups of coffee. And you can swipe back and forth between those cups of coffee, and you can see, oh, okay, that's the one I want, the creme brulee. You can tap on that, and it'll ask you subsequently for the size. You can say tall, venti, large, or venti grande. And you tap on that, and then it would ask you for the milk options, and you would select those, and those would be an up and down slot list. And we implement that through table view. You tap on one of those, and then it goes into the pay options. It tells us, okay, here's your total. Would you like to, inevitably you might have the application move back if they say, I want to add another item to my order. You'd actually go right back to the top of the stack. Effectively hold that you're passing that data back and forth to the actual cell phone, holding that data in like sequencing or something like that. And at the end, you finally get to the final checkout component. You'd be taking that, calculating, and pushing that into via a notification of view control. So effectively right now what we're going to do is we're just going to do a static one. I'm going to show you how this all lays out. Online we have an actual project that has been set up. Apple has changed the SDK, mind you, so this project had to, there were some changes there. In the SDK, it no longer supports the init with context in the static view controllers. And so I had to actually remove those. So actually what I did is I just commented it out and actually put the proper initializers here, which essentially just removed the with context and ID context. So now it compiles. I'm going to go ahead and push that up to the GitHub so any of you want to see that. It'll be pushed up later on tonight. Pekka will actually do that. So the project itself right now is end-to-end. It goes all the way through. It's statically built because we didn't actually want to push data back yet. And we were still waiting, as I said, on the SDK to really, it really hasn't settled down yet. Here supposedly sometime in February we'll be doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and get on into developing and taking his assets. Now we're presuming again that we know what the flow is going to look like. We have the assets been exported by our UX and UI designers, and those are in a folder for us. And we're going to go ahead and start by creating a brand new project here. So
this is cool because everything we've been doing is in Swift, so you're using Objective-C.
Yes. Yes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new workspace. So for all of you that have, and some of you have already been following along, or who have been working on this, let's see, we're just going to call this Watch Demo. Created that, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new project. Huh?
You have to download the beta.
Yes, this is only right now only available in the beta 6.2. So, and how many of you are Objective-C developers? Just for a raise of hands here. Okay, how many of you are designers? Okay, great. So we're kind of split about two-thirds in developers. So most of you have already have created this. So we're going to start off with a single view application just to begin here. And this is going to be Star Coffee. Yeah. Just going to go ahead and save that right here in our project. So one of the first and most important pieces is that we set up for the build a scheme. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go in here. We're going to edit the scheme. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the scheme, and I'm just going to give it Watch App name here. So now that we have the Watch App scheme, it's been updated. I'm going to go ahead and create an Watch App target template, and it's going to automatically give us Star Coffee WatchKit app. We're just going to go ahead and save that. And what's going to happen over here, it's going to ask us to activate that Watch app here. So now what happened here on our left is you can, whoops, go back. Okay. As you can see over here, it added the two additional groups over here, the Star Coffee WatchKit app and the WatchKit extension. The WatchKit extension is what the app speaks through. Now, a lot of people have been playing around with Swift. In my opinion, right now, it's still a little immature. In production, I spoke with, actually just in last week, a number of fairly large local area companies. They're not moving to Swift yet. Maybe in the next year or so. But right now, most all the development still is going on in Objective-C. Just to let you know. We're going to go ahead and program this out in Objective-C. There's some unique ways of speaking back and forth through the WatchKit extension. It requires that the communication happen at both on the phone itself as well as sending information back to the device. As I mentioned before, the device, and many of you already know on the WatchKit, it's pretty much a dumb little device. It doesn't really do much. It's not a lot of things other than tap events and things like that. We don't have, like for example, you don't have collection views, right? Essentially what we have is we have what's given to us by Apple as defined right now at this time are these groups. We have tables, we have groups, images, buttons, some of the very, very most basic pieces. There's that map component, which has rudimentary controls, as well as the date and the timer pieces. The menu item also is there, but that's pretty much what we're limited to. And so that's from that small suite of widgets, we are going to go ahead and build this right now. So what I have here is I have this WatchKit app. Here is our app. I'm going to just go ahead and add in the WatchKit framework on both levels here. And for Star Coffee. And if you are going to be doing data back and forth at the application layer, rather than just doing a static view, you're going to want to add in entitlements. And those entitlements actually happen over here with the app groups. And you would actually create an app group. And I'm not sure if you guys have gone over that yet in any of the groups. So in order for the proper communication and storage of information back and forth between the app and the watch itself requires app group entitlements, which are set up on your Apple developer account. And you would then create a profile that has those entitlements. You would export that profile and you would import that profile into your Xcode. And then you still have to use your reverse domain annotation for your applications. You have to go com, domain, whatever, app ID. So that's going to be really important if you're going to think about communication and data communication between the app and the watch in the future.
We would cover that at Bootcamp.
Yeah. So what we have here is it created a couple of interface controllers. There are header and implementation files, as you can see here. And here is our interface storyboard. And because of our time limitation today, I'm going to just do this in a static model here on the interface storyboard. I know it's kind of nice to see all these dynamic interface pieces coming together, but right today, I'm going to just build it out as quickly as possible. So you can see we have our main interface up here, and we can actually link off that main interface. This is a notification. This one here is a notification process, which you can actually fire off of a remote notification that happens from the phone. It's pushed to the device, and it's like, bing, okay, something just happened. In our case, we're going to have an app that would be launched when the app launches, and it's notified that there is a watch that is linked to it, and then the watch will start the process of displaying your views. So for right now, we are just going to go ahead and remove those two because we don't need them in our case. Now, an important part, and I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring the assets in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the way that the transition happens between the first interface controller and the second interface controllers. The limitation that Apple puts on this is that we don't have like carousels. When people are like, okay, when you see that the swiping one, that's actually page-based navigation, and the page-based navigation is launched off of the modal. Okay, so once you have the modal up, you can go through the page-based navigation. If you want to have multiple page-based navigations, you have to launch them as modals. Otherwise, all of your app is page-based navigation. Are you following me? So I'll show you how that works.
No, a modal is just like a pop-up.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you how that works. And we're going to start off, to begin with, we're going to go ahead and drop a group on here. It can get kind of tricky when you're working with the variations in between the different sizes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this thing to center here. And with the groups, with my first group on every single interface controller, I want them to be the full size of the container. As you can see, there's still that little time up there. And if I wanted to, I can add in a title for a controller, for the interface controller itself, right here. But let's just say it's Starbucks. Okay. Now, inside this controller, inside this interface controller, I have the group. I'm going to first do is, and what I'm going to do is predominantly throughout this application, I'm going to work with buttons instead of images. Images are great for just static, but the thing is that you have couple of different ways of adding the elements to the interface controller. The group gives us the capability of either putting them in vertical or horizontal. Okay, that's about it. So what we're going to do is, because of the way that Peck designed it, is I'm going to put them all in vertically. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to throw in a button. I want this button to be centered because what his application, based upon his wireframes that he gave me, were designed specifically to center. Now, this is kind of where I'm stuck at. I'm like, okay, I got the buttons in the center. I know what I want to do is I want to first place is the Starbucks logo. So that's going to be kind of like the opening splash screen when the Watch app starts up. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and go back over to my Explorer here, and I'm going to take the assets that Peck has exported for me. As you can see here, we got all these assets. And the nice thing that Peck did some really nice stuff for me. He actually created the different steps for me, so I was able to prep and like essentially this is his form of this is his lazy form of giving me a wireframe. It's like, here's what they should look like at each step. You go just figure it out. So the ones I do need are the ones that are above it, and you can see here are this Starbucks logo. There's a number of Apple logos, etc. I don't believe I need the actual Apple logo. If we have time, we can get it. We can actually get to the Apple Pay components. So. Oh man, I keep on hitting my right click. That's okay. There we go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create, and because these are going to be running static, there's a couple of different ways of actually sending dynamic images back to the device, to the actual phone itself, to the watch. Yeah. From the phone to the watch. It's not as easy as you think. And in this case, because right now, for example, say Starbucks, the standard Starbucks watch app is going to be pretty much the same until they get to like one of their seasonal times. In this case, we're just going to build one statically. There's going to be no dynamic images coming off the web. So we're actually going to create a new group actually inside the WatchKit app. So this data is actually going to be installed on the app. So the images, we would want to have them pretty optimized because there's not a lot of memory on the watch itself. So we're just going to call this images. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import Peck's photos or images here. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop those right in here. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use access catalog?
Oh, you can. You can. But none of Peck's have the Act2X. So I'd have to go and I'd have to drag each and every single one of them into the Act2X assets catalog position. If you open it up and see there's three position. Okay, and right now I'm just talking about time, so I'm just going to drop them into the images. But for well-formatted, you're correct. We would use the asset catalog and have them in Act2X. He was being really lazy on this one and didn't even export them right. But as he already explained to you, we want to do that properly when we are exporting. So I'm going to go ahead and copy them in. We want to make sure that they're available across all these targets. So we're going to go ahead and click on Finish here.
And that's important. If you don't have all the targets checked, then like if you try to refer to it in your WatchKit extension, it won't know that it exists.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'd be like you could try and call an image by name programmatically in one of your view controllers, and whoa, it'll crash on the and you're like, hey, that image is not available. So not a good thing to do. So we're going to go back here. Now that we have the assets in there, we're going to go back here, and they will actually be selectable. So we're going to go ahead and select the Starbucks image here. Okay. So we're going to start off with the Starbucks image. It's going to load up. This is going to be our first screen. Let's just go ahead and see if we can test that and just make sure that we got that up and running. And if you notice here which one I'm using here, my scheme, I'm using the Starbucks WatchKit app scheme here. So we should have a little screen come up here in just a moment, if I did things correctly. Oh, okay. So we got the Starbucks icon. Any questions yet?
Was that the button?
That was the button I just created, yeah. I just dragged and dropped the button and changed the actual background image of that button to the Starbucks logo. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to illustrate to you how to create the carousel page view but giving us the capability, because as I mentioned before, if we tried to go in and create carousels without using the modal, it will limit us, and the whole app will be a carousel. And then you can't do a bunch of the other things like, other additional swipes, slot, etc. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. Stop our simulator. Now I'm going to start moving pretty quickly. As I mentioned before, here's our interface controllers. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to drop in a group. I'm going to set this group here to center. Whoops, excuse me. I want the contents of this group to be centered. Again, I want to size that group to be the size of the container, so the entire watch container. So it's going to expand as we need it. And then what I want it to be is I want it to be vertical. And I want to set right now, because I actually know that there's a little spacing at the top of PEC's image, at the top of PEC's view. I'm going to set these to about 12 right now. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop in a button. As you're going to see, I'm using buttons pretty thoroughly throughout the application. I'm going to drop in a label now. And I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and expand the width of the label to be relative to the container. I'm going to get that text in there. And we're going to say Mocha. Now, with this one, we want to go with a fixed size because the image it's slightly smaller than the total width. And with buttons, you can, but right now because we're going for speed, you can with buttons you can programmatically change the background of the image, the background image of that, but you have to go and mess around with like a bunch of other things. Today, for speed purposes, we're going to go ahead and use this. So we're going to go ahead and select the Mocha Peppermint Mocha Frappuccino, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that. So as you can see now, we have our first layout, and it should be pretty close to one of the items that Peck had showed us here. Okay, so we're getting close, as you can see here. All right, I'm going to probably decrease the size on that a little bit in case. There we go. There we go. So we got that sized about right. So as I mentioned before, this is where we move from the app right here into and make that clickable to where we go over to this second interface. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold the control key down. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to open it up. The control key and then click drag to the target interface. I'm going to select modal. So now we've now just linked between the two. Now what's going to happen is that this second view is going to open up essentially as an overlay. I can back up and it'll send me right back to the root interface. Now this is where it gets fun. Effectively, I could just take this. I want to have say four different views or 4 different items. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to change this out to a cinnamon. Okay. Now, in order for us to make the transition between the two, between the Mocha and the cinnamon, we use next page. Next page is what gives us that capability of the side-to-side swiping. I'm just going to go ahead and select this one, right-click on the interface controllers. Essentially, I think it's the referencing outlet delegate. And then what we see here is you see this next page. I can actually drag this next page for this application, drag and drop it right there. So what will happen now is that that will be our next page interface. So then again, I can do this again. Go ahead and drag and drop this over here. I'm going to paste our item. I'm going to change this one now to the creme brulee. I'm going to creme brulee. Select here, right click. I'm going to select my next page. I'm going to drop that here. So now we should have 3 different interfaces currently. Let's go ahead and run that and see what we got. And our simulator, up and going. And there we go. We now have side-to-side swiping. We can just cancel and go on back. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Maybe just what I just missed it, but how did you put the label in?
Labels. Okay, so I used a vertical container. Let's go back to the code there really quick. So this, as you can see here, this is this group. That group can be identified here as vertical or horizontal. Okay. So what I did is then, because it's vertical, I dragged and dropped a button. Let's go ahead and build another one here. We're gonna build the next one from scratch, so that way we can see it again. So once somebody has selected which flavor of the month that they want to drink, the next thing is that they were going to select the size of the cup. Based upon PEX UX and the UI, we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Again, this is a tricky piece. Statically, doing this statically, programmatically, we would have each one of these interface controllers would be inheriting a primary, or subclass, and then each one of those subclasses would have identified an ID outlet. That when tapping on the button will tell the application, okay, you need to go here. For speed purposes, again, I'm going to show you static linking inside the interface builder. So here we go, and I need a group. Drop this group in here. We're going to get that group to be relative to the container size. All right, and what I did is I changed this to a vertical. All right, and I'm just going to put probably a very small boundary on the top, so it's not the image, the next element. Okay, so what's going to happen inside inside of this group container is that all elements I place will now go down vertically. And as you're going to see here, I'm going to drop a button in. That button is going to be our image that somebody could tap on. And then immediately after that, I'm going to take a label and drop it in. So as you can see, there's our label. So now they are aligned vertically.
Basically, when you're building for WatchKit, nothing can be overlapping. It all has to be laid out next to each other. So it's either next to the other side,
horizontal or vertical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can make things look kind of overlaid by putting static images on for the the whole view itself.
You can have a background.
Yeah.
So the group can have a background.
Yeah. So you can put a group background, but everything that's on above it, is pretty much going to be there. So we want this label. I want this label to go all the way across again, relative to the container, and I want that centered. And I'm going to say this. What's it called? They call it tall, right? Tall, even though it's not very tall. It's like, don't they call it the tallest? Or like the smallest is the smallest, right? I don't know. Go figure. So we're going to go and find PEC's image that he exported here, which is our size tall. Ooh, a little bit big. Let's go ahead and resize that. Got that button text over the top there. I'm going to move that over. And I want that guy centered. It looks a little bit fat for me. It's probably just about like that. Right about there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to eyeball it here. I'm going to go inside my container and I'm going to just bring that guy down a little bit to get him centered. Okay. So there we go. That's about right. Now this is the trick part. Because we actually have two of them page views. Two different ones. First one is swiping to get our flavor. The second one is swiping to get our cup size. That's why I was mentioning to create a subclass with a single IB outlet that would then jump to the particular correct interface controller. In this way, we're going to cheat, and I'll show you how to cheat. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to point at this controller here, and I'm going to say modal.
You held down your control key.
Yes, I'm holding down the control key. I'm selecting the button from every single one of the items here, and I'm selecting all of them as modal. So now I have three modal connections from each one of these. So effectively what would happen, you would want to do, is you would want to take the tap on that event, you would want to store that data, send that back over to your phone, you can store it in Singleton or whatever, or later recall once we get to the checkout position. So in this case, we're cheating, and we're just forcing it through to the next one. This time, again, we can just go about this process in a very similar way. We're just going to take an interface controller. I'm going to drop it right here. I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to take our group. I'm going to copy our group. Tap here. We're going to paste that. We're going to swap out our image to now be a, what's the next in line? Is Grande, right, guys? Huh? It is Grande, right? Grande tall. It goes Grande tall? Yeah. You sure it's not tall Grande? It's tall Grande Venti. Yeah, I'm from Seattle, so I know these things. Don't mention my Seahawks either, because they are going up against a really tough team, Green Bay Packers. All right, here we go. So then we got tall, and we got Grande. I think the image is slightly bigger. You know, one of the things is like because these are swipeable, and the point is that you're moving from one to the next. You want it to be at least visually sized, so that way people are like, you know, otherwise all the cups look the same size and people just have to read. And I'll tell you one thing about design, and this is what I've learned. I mean, over the years, people don't read anymore. They want to see pictures and they want to look at it. I mean, that's what, you know, the whole concept of iconography has really taken over. So I'm going to get these down just a little bit. We want them to be visually, if you swipe back and forth, that you can see that there's an actual size differentiation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this guy, and I'm going to select on the controller's delegate again, referencing outlet, and I'm going to select next page, and I'm going to point that over at our next interface. So now what we should have, like I said, we are rushing through this in order to get a workable interface that we can play with. Let's just say this is a demo product using, get that out of my way. Here we go. So we still have our mochas. We could select our mochas. Now we have our ability to select these. And of course, we can go backwards. So any questions so far?
Can you programmatically change static images? Yes. You can. Well, you mean you would hook up your interface builder and you create an IP outlet. Is that what you mean? And then you could change it with the IP outlet. Is it a timer?
I've been experimenting with actually sticking the controllers into an array and then dynamically building them, because say we have an arbitrary number of cups or different flavors, etc. So essentially injecting those at the runtime when the app starts up. So I haven't been doing a lot of app stuff. Actually, I was at a hackathon with this guy and that guy over there last week, so I haven't had time to play around with it. We were playing around with the Samsung Watch, the Samsung Gear S, and I haven't had time to play with it. Besides, I don't have a device yet, so once I get a device, I'll be more apt to like start messing around. Right now, at the moment, though, really, you're right. You can create that IB outlet, and you could fire off that event on tap. You could bind all tap events, all touch events. I think it is the touch event, not really a tap event, but the touch event on the watch to load the next controller.
And just so I understand, you said you wanted to, like, with the timer, change out an image every so often. Is that what you wanted to do? I just want to find out what I can do.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the question I've had.
Yeah,
like,
so
Probably can't get away with it.
analog secondhand? Yeah, you can do that.
oh, well, no, you can't.
Well, you could
you
have
have to make images.
you'd have the image in 60 different positions, the second hand in 60 different positions. I don't know. Yeah, we're going to keep on moving along, though. It's a good question. I haven't experimented a lot with the capabilities of passing the data back and forth and dynamically building these the interfaces, but we'll see. You know, I mean, it's kind of something that's I'm sure that I could probably release something on GitHub. All right, so now next, we've selected a couple of different cup options. Now the final one is we want to go ahead and just move forward, and we're going to drop another interface over here. I'm going to build one last one. If anybody really feels like they have any other questions, I mean, we're just going down the process of building these fairly rapidly. Please go ahead and ask while I'm putting this together. Anyone else has another question?
From a design point of view, is there anything different between the different sizes of the watch? There's the 42 and then there's a smaller one.
Mm-hmm.
And you run into anything where you should either design the smaller one, scale up, or is there anything with assets?
Yeah, well, as you notice, I've been like making the assets relational to the container, or excuse me, the boundaries, and then I'm centering the assets in the center because I think the difference is actually the horizontal difference.
Well, it's the same.
Or excuse me, it's the diagonal difference between the 40. What is it? A 45 and the.
I think 42 and 30.
The 42 and the 38. So it's the diagonal delta is the difference. So it's a little bit shorter and a little bit narrower.
So that's why you use containers.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you try and set them as being, particularly static, or fixed size, and you have them left or right justified, it's going to look kind of janky. So they don't give you a lot to work with here.
And then the only other thing is that make sure that you are using like system font or body headline fonts that have a dynamic size font.
Mm-hmm. So in Peck's design here, he has these buttons. You see the icon there that has the check mark. And we realized, actually, when somebody's using the app and they go to that point, they tap on it, we actually want an action to happen. We want them to go somewhere, so there's not going to be a lot of time to show that, right? So maybe on tap, and then, on touch, and then I think there's a touch release. You want to wire it up to do that, to where it adds and it will subtract, and essentially you can tell elements inside the UI to appear or disappear, or visible or invisible. You can't really do much else with it. So in that case, we're also going to use, again, we're going to use buttons. And we're going to set this container here, this group container, to a vertical. And I'm just going to go ahead and just drop in a number of buttons here. And these are going to be our various, whole milk. This is 2% milk. This is going to be soy. It's going to be none. Right, now, both these guys, again, as before, I want the touch event to go here to this guy, and we're going to open it up as a modal. So that gives us ability, and the important part is that every single one of our static views has to be linked to the next step, because that's effectively what we want to do here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and open this up, and let's see what our view looks like. So here we go, our beautiful siren from Starbucks. As you can see, it's a little bit close to the top. Now we're running in a 42. If I drop this guy and go back to the 38, we're going to see here. We're going to open it up into 38. You're going to see what it looks like, the size variance. Okay, so this isn't a 38. Just looks a little bit better. It's closer to what I want to do. So you're going to have to go back and eyeball it. You can also get these to. You can get the group to. You can put a group within a group. Right? So you might have the main group, which is the full size of the container. You might put a group which fits the size or essentially wraps the content itself. And then inside of that, you would have, if horizontal horizontally centered, and then you're going to have them vertical. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put that one group that has the button and the label inside the other group, and you're going to have it go horizontally and vertically centered. So that way, then you're going to get it as close to center as possible for both the 32 and the 38 and the 42. That's how I would do it. So we're going to go back here. We're going to see our cinnamon here. So we got tall. We want to definitely go with the grande, and here we are. We have our soy and whole milk. Now, I believe that before I used a scrolling table, actually, on this one. And the group here. Yeah, I think so. The group should, right? And I'm not sure why it's not. It's scrolling on it. It's scrolling on the other app, Bill. I'm just going to jump back over and look at the other version. I can't remember how I set that. All right, so there we got a coffee and the tall. There we go. So now we got scrolling again.
So yeah, you don't have to use a scroll view. Just whatever's in your interface is scrollable if it goes off the screen.
So if you have more elements than possible to fit within the container, within the group. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Does cancel go back?
Yes, yes, and we can put any kind of text that we want there.
And yeah, it dismisses that modal, and so you're wherever you were before. And if you hook it up, can you show them hooking up with a push instead of a modal so they see it back?
Yeah. So, well, you can do a cancel too, right?
Yeah.
So now our next view would be here. We're going to go ahead and drop a group in here. So we've now selected the milk type. Because it does a body good, and we need this to group here, and we're going to make that relative to container, and I'm constantly flipping back and forth between Peck's designs so I could see exactly what he wants us to look like. So we've got payment label. It's kind of hard to see, but right up here's a payment label. There is a charge and then a balance on my card. Is that really step 4? Isn't there supposed to? Is it there? Shouldn't there? I think there's one next. Yeah, I think we're missing one, which was essentially, yeah, like add. No, I got the milk. It was like add another cup, right? Add another order, which would loop back. We didn't do that. We didn't add that one, but effectively, you would want to add. You would have that, and then prior to this one, it's got a balance on our card. So we selected balance and card, and so I don't think actually I implemented this one. I don't think so. I think I implemented step 5, which was, yeah, we went straight to the amount due. That's what I did. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how this one's done. The amount due is going to be tricky because it's a number of different, we have a number of different elements. Some of them are horizontal and then some of them are vertical. And so it really comes down to kind of knowing the way that the groupings work. So we're going to start off, we got that group there. We're going to start off with the second group, and this group, our first group is going to be vertical, and then our second group is going to remain horizontal. And inside of our second horizontal group, we want 2 labels, one right and one left justified. So we're going to go ahead and grab 2 labels. I'm going to drop these in here. I'm going to grab a label here. Then we grab another label, and I'm going to drop it in right there. This one is going to be to the right. So now there we go. So as you can see here, he's got an item and an amount right here and here. We're just going to go ahead and alter that. We're going to say item. and then underneath it there is eggnog latte, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So the separator is just a line that goes straight across. Kind of its own special element.
Just a line. I don't know. They, like I said, they didn't give you a lot to work with, so you're pretty much having to make up for their lack of. Well, like I said, it's not much better than the Samsung Watch, though. So there was very few people that were at the hackathon, and we were at the AT&T hackathon in Las Vegas. There was very few people who were even able to get that device to even work. So, you know, I think there's a lot still left to be said about these about all these various, you know, watch devices. There's just no one's really dialed it in yet. So label, what do we have here? So I think that Peck is writing. Now notice that one of the things here is that you can change this by changing its body style. We want to go with a slightly smaller text. And so you actually have to select that. If we're going to do it statically, we're going to go ahead and, because essentially what's happening now is going a smaller text here. Here we go. So we're going to get that smaller. These labels seem to be a little bit large. So I'm going to customize those. I'm going to bring those down. And this is just in case you end up with 13.
If you're making those as static labels, then
Yes, you're correct. They would not be dynamic yet. What we're doing is right now we're just building a prototype. That way, say for example, you're prototyping this, you have to go into a client like tomorrow. You say, okay, this is what we want. But inevitably, the information we push into the app itself. Some views can be generated dynamically, and then it can be updated from a notification controller.
and on Thursday in Palo Alto, I'll show how to do it. Yeah. So that's the helpful watch. It's essentially Xcode, or just something doing that.
I would be using a table in this place normally, right here. I would actually be dropping, like in this case, because I'm just adding that in, I would actually have a table here. Then I'd take this group.
I mean, the standard interface is kind of like a table anyway, so you can do it either way. But well, yeah, I guess if you want to populate like a number of rows that are going to change, then
Yeah, and that's what you would use. You would use a table normally in this place, but we're just going to go backwards. Here, I'm going to remove that for right now. I say this one's going to be $4.50. Since there are a bunch of greedy guys up there in Seattle and they charge an arm and a leg for it. Alrighty, here we go. For design, we're just going to look really quickly. So Peck's got this really big fat text here and the font for the numbers on the okay, so as you can see, that's actually the total is bottom aligned, so it's aligned to the bottom of its container, and this one is just going to be a big fatter one. So we're going to do the same thing here. Is we're going to, I like how I express my visualization of these guys. Okay, so I need to drag two labels in there again. This is, like I said, we're just building a prototype for you to show off to a client today. So we're going to go to the right. We're going to modify our customization. And sometimes I used to have to build a prototype like really, really, really fast for the UX designer, because they might be like, for example, like when I did the Macy's, the UX designer had to fly out to New York like the next day. And so I'd like stay up all night just building a prototype, slapping it together as quickly as possible. So sometimes, you know, when you're mocking up stuff, you just go as quickly as you can. It's just the life of the developer, right? So now, okay, this is on the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and move this one to the bottom too. Now you could see this one and this one are slightly different in the scale. Yeah. So because of the line height, I think. The line height of the text. So we can actually identify this to a fixed height, and I think that, oops, there.
Or you could do an adjustment.
Yeah, you can make the height of that of the bounding box to a little bit different size. So we're just going to say total, and then we're going to change this one out to $9. And I think that, Peck, did you have a different color there? No. This one was just kind of lighter gray, like a gray color. I think these ones were kind of grayish too, right? No, I don't want to go that dark. We can go a little bit lighter gray. Sometimes I make adjustments for the designers because they give me something, and then when you actually see it on the device, it doesn't look very good. So I just take the liberty of getting things so that way they're actually visible. So there we go. It's about as close as we can get there. Let me see if I got anything else. Was that gold text? No. Okay, now we got the final piece here. Also, for just visual separation, we might want to put another separator in there. And you know, sometimes the designer sees it and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you totally screwed in my design." And it's just like, well, it's just a line, buddy. So don't have a cow. Now let's go over here. We're going to drop in 2 images. They're going to be since we know all groups come up when you first add them, they all come in as horizontals. So just keep in mind, sometimes you put something in there and you drag and drop it in, and you're like, where'd it go? Because like, as you can see, half of it went off the view here. You see the boundaries going off. So I wish you guys could see from my side, because it's like really hard to view that. Is that better? That didn't help on your screen up there. Yeah, it's just a little. Huh? Yeah, I actually added 2. Yeah, you're right. I should be adding buttons, not images. Thank you. Yeah. So we're going to give those buttons. What are they called? Button Starbucks card? Yep, that's the one. And then we're going to get a fixed height on that. Now, these ones can be fixed height as long as they're smaller, because remember what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be centering this item. So just get this way down. Go to that text. And we're almost through here with the checkout. There's one more image. There's a Starbucks card, and then there is the Apple Pay card. Because these guys are within a container, that container itself is being centered. I want this guy fixed. 15. About as good as I can get for right now, just eyeballing it. That one's left, that one's right, justified, 60. Let's just round these off. 5, 25.
Yes, you can do it for images.
For images, yeah, but not for buttons.
Okay.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, that you can't change the background unless you do some stuff. And you can do that at the class, at the actual class. And so you would want to subclass that out and do it elsewhere before the asset's actually brought in. because you could dynamically put the images in there as long as the images are located within at the extension level right here. As long as they're brought in here at this extension level over here. And then you can make those assets pushed into the WatchKit Apathon correct. So there we go. So now we want anytime any one of these buttons to go here, we want to use a push. Like I said, we're just doing a prototype here. Of course, we would have each of these buttons would be subclassed as well, and they would have, oh, we don't want that one. And I think that does it for us. All right, here we go. And our siren, we're going to get all jacked up on Starbucks coffee now. Peekaboo. And did that go? Did I not do it correctly? I don't think I did it correctly. Let me see here. Huh? No, I think I have to do it from an IV outlet to do that. And that's the way I wired it up before. But we can do a modal, because from a modal to a modal, we were trying to do is I was trying to actually set up 2 different storyboards. You can't have 2 storyboards, by the way. There's another gotcha. It's like, you know, a normal app, mobile app on the phone, you can have 2 storyboards. You could jump over to the other storyboard and make it part, you know, the primary navigation view controller. Can't do that on the watch. Doesn't work. And they might change that. I hope so. It'd be great that I could have a flow, and then just go. If I hit an event, I could just load up a whole nother storyboard. It would make my life a lot easier. I wouldn't have to avoid this whole, like, you know, layering modals on top of modals on top of modals. But for our intents and purposes right now, we're going to remove these, and we're just going to create another modal push. So I think in this case you would have to rewind all the way back in order to do a push. You can't do a push from a modal. You can do a modal from a modal. At least now. So let's stop that. Let's go ahead and go back again. Alrighty. And there's our siren. Coffee. We got the grande. The big one. We got some soy, and there we go. All right. Any questions? Thank you. I know there wasn't a lot of programmatic stuff there, but as you already know, going into the programmatic side, we could be here for a couple hours just to, like, correctly bind up the other pieces. Any questions for me or Peck?
At the beginning, you say something about how the phone interacts with the watch. Like, you start that from the phone, or how
Yes, yeah. This app would be launched from when the app on the phone starts up. This app starts up if it's detected to be in the vicinity.
how does that work? You guys program it.
So what do you mean? Like in this specific, like normally, let's say, I mean, what you could do if you're Starbucks is have an ID pin at your Starbucks store, and then it talks to your iPhone app, and then that sends a notification to your watch that, you know, hey, we know you're in Starbucks. Would you like to pay? Like that.
So you could have like what do you call it, and in this case, somebody might be outside the store waiting in line, and they're going to go ahead and just, you know, tap it. So if they, in our case, the phone, they'd open up the Starbucks app and they say, you know, configure with your watch. They hit that button, and our app would start up. You know, they might be down the block. They might be, you know, driving on their way, waiting in traffic, and say, I want my latte ready when I get there. I'm 3 blocks away. I'm sitting at the light. They would open up the app, configure it while they're driving, boom, and set it up. And then in the final screen, Peck, did we go through the PowerPoint yet?
This is part of the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is then I think that, okay, they'd be in line. Look at the chairs.
Yeah. So basically, you trigger the Apple Pay.
Yeah, as you see, we just designed this feature here. So they trigger the Apple Pay. They go over here, they just select one card, and then finally this is done. And I think we have a screen that would show. I mean,
Ready.
Yeah,
the
your drink is
drink
ready.
Is ready.
The drink is ready when the barista is finished. You know, they're like, bang, done.
I'm thinking about maybe a little bit more complex app that has the phone component and then have the watch component, and they talk to each other. So I may want to start a phone app along with the watch app at the same time, right? They do both need to be around and they need to talk to each other. How does that really work? I haven't looked into it.
So that's what he was talking about earlier, how you set up your app group, and then you can share data.
Right.
Yeah.
How do they talk? Like, do I have to start the app on the phone first, right, manually, and then go to the watch, start manually?
You can have the app on your phone. You could start it up on your phone, but if the app on the phone is not started, from what I understand, it won't communicate back, and it's going to look for its paired device right now.
That's not true. It won't communicate. You can start it on the watch.
You can start it on the watch, but if the app is not started on your phone, it'll start it automatically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's what I thought the entitlement was. It allows for the app to be launched from the phone.
No, it's just sharing the data.
Okay.
Yeah. So explain to me what you want to do and I'll.
So, say an app that has a phone component.
Yeah.
That's the watch component. It works hand in hand.
Yep.
Right now, what my understanding is, you have to put the app on the phone first, then open the app on the watch, and now they talk to each other. I have to do 2 clicks somewhere.
No. You don't have to. You can leave your phone in your pocket and just look at your watch and mess with it, and it's like it's talking to the phone, but your phone's not on.
The watch does not have a cellular piece. If you don't have your phone with you, it's not going to calls out or anything. So if that's what you're
The
asking.
watch only runs the watch extension. Only
Correct.
runs the extension.
Yeah.
But if you have a phone app that needs to talk through the extension, does it start automatically when you start a watch app?
That's what I just asked. Can you start a watch app, or excuse me, a phone app from the watch just by going to it and tapping it?
Well, you're not. Yeah, you're not. You can have the phone in your pocket and not interact with the phone. Just interact with the watch. That's fine.
He's talking
I don't
about
know.
the data, though.
Just go read the documentation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to understand. So is that what you're asking? Can I interact with the watch? It'll save data, and you can use it later in your phone app.
No, he wants to launch an app.
And you actually interact on the watch app with the phone app. That's from here. How does the phone know you need to wake up or start the phone app? So it talks to you?
As soon as you press the icon on the watch, it's talking to the phone.
Even if the phone's in sleep mode?
Does it launch the actual app on the phone?
It doesn't launch the app.
That's right. It does not.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think the entitlements. You have to have, like, for example, in our case, the watch, you'd have to have the Starbucks app open running in the background on your phone.
Yeah. No, you don't have to.
You don't. You just said it.
No.
The data to go out through my Starbucks app to the internet. The watch itself does not speak to the internet. It has to have the app on the phone itself. The phone has to be present.
Well, you wouldn't even have the app on the watch if you didn't download the app on the phone.
Which is different than the Samsung phone. Watch.
Right.
Samsung actually has a 3G connection, but they said that, I think Apple said that they're going to inevitably come out with that.
So when you want to use internet, they do recommend that you don't do that in the WatchKit extension. You do that for your iOS app. Does that make sense? Because it's kind of a long-running process, and the WatchKit extension can get killed many times.
Yeah.
But it isn't placing in your coffee order using the internet?
Yeah. So you don't have to. I don't think you have to actually physically open up the phone app. I think you can like send something to the phone app that can.
I see.
Yeah, that's what the entitlements are for. The entitlement says that, okay, these two devices can communicate to each other, and that the watch itself is allowed to fire off a event.
But is it the actual app that's doing that, or is it, I mean, on your phone, or is it your watch app?
It's the app on the phone. The watch does not communicate actually to the web. It's allowed through that security token showing you those entitlements.
those entitlements are required for the watch to actually make it fire off the phone. Otherwise, I'd be walking around with a watch screwing with everybody's phones and saying, "Who's got a phone?" I'd be like, firing off messages, right? So it has to be bound to each other, and that entitlement locks once those two devices are paired.
It allows them to communicate from your watch to extension into your iPhone.
That's remember, none of us have the device yet, so we're all kind of guessing still a little bit on how to
your phone, like do processes and calculations and all that. It's not
No, it's not very good for that. No, the extension itself runs on the phone itself, and essentially the phone. There's a little bit you can do. You can't like make it run processes like forking.
Well, you could like if you put it into the phone app, and then your phone app is hooked up properly to run in the background. Like so, whatever Apple lets you do in the background, the phone app doesn't let you do.
Yeah, because essentially all the watch does is it takes tap events and the watch allows you to swipe back and forth, and it gets those painted controllers from the phone extension. So the phone extension at runtime sends that over, and the watch app itself can receive like that's what I was saying is like can I create an array of those things and send them over that are example say tomorrow there's 12 12 different copy options instead of 4. I want to be able to create 12 different options and send an array of those pages over to the device, and then the device can load those into mobile. Right.
while your phone app is actually doing that.
While your phone app is running in the background.
So the sketch file is available. Bit.ly sbox-watchkit-sketch. That project that you just saw, an earlier version of that is also available with Starbucks Impeccable /Starbucks WatchKit, since that's all freely available, so you can take a look at it.
Into the notes and then post it as a comment.
Great. Yep, we'll do that. And that's pretty much it, but I want to show you one more thing.
But there's more.
There's more. This has nothing to do with WatchKit, unfortunately. But yeah. It's a sneak preview of an app that Impeccable has been working on. And you guys get a sneak preview of this. Oh. I'll try to do that. And it's basically, here's the URL. Oh, crap. Here. The background's not shown here. Basically, it's an app. If you like movies, you'll hopefully like this app. It's a great way to discover movies. Let's see. Just submitted to the App Store last week, so let's see how it goes. Cool. There we go. App's called Marquee, and I'll send you the URL on the Meetup, so you can sign up for the to be notified. Basically, it's a better Flickster or IMDb, much more visual, so you can browse movies here, see what's in theaters, what's upcoming, what's popular. Like, yeah, I want to see Taken 3. Check that out. Like, yeah, I like this Liam Neeson guy. Like, he's 62, doing action movies. You can see what other movies he's been in. And that's pretty much the core of the app here.
It's pretty cool. I like how the image blurs and stays in the background.
Yeah. And if you like, oh, I like Taken 3, I like action movies, I'm going to tap into action, so now I see a bunch of action movies. It's like, yeah, Fast and Furious 7. And it's like, oh, I like Dwayne Johnson. Okay, let's see what other movies he's been in. All right, yeah, probably.
Babysitter.
Hercules, a lot of wrestling stuff. G.I. Joe, yeah. That's a sneak preview. of the app. That's all I'll show you. There's more. But.
Looks good.